Description: SCP-096 is a humanoid creature, measuring approximately 2.38 meters in height. The subject shows very little muscle mass, with preliminary analysis of body mass suggesting mild malnutrition. The arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of the subject's body, with an approximate length of 1.5 meters each. The skin is mostly devoid of pigmentation, with no signs of any body hair. SCP-096's jaw can open to 4 times the norm of an average human. Other facial features remain similar to an average human, with the exception of the eyes, which are also devoid of pigmentation. It is not yet known whether SCP-096 is blind or not. It shows no signs of any higher brain functions, and is not considered to be sapient. SCP-096 is normally extremely docile, with pressure sensors inside its cell indicating it spends most of the day pacing by the eastern wall. However, when someone views SCP-096's face, whether it be directly, via video recording, or even a photograph, it will enter a state of considerable emotional distress. SCP-096 will cover its face with its hands and begin screaming, crying, and babbling incoherently. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the first viewing, SCP-096 will begin running to the person who viewed its face, who will from this point on be referred to as 096-1. Documented speeds have varied from 35 kilometers an hour to kilometers an hour, and seems to depend on the distance from 096-1. At this point, no known material or method can impede 096's progress. The actual position of 096-1 does not seem to affect SCP-096's response. It seems to have an innate sense of 096-1's location, but note, this reaction does not occur when viewing artistic depictions. Upon arriving at 096-1's location, SCP-096 will proceed to kill and 096-1. 100% of cases have left no traces of 096-1. SCP-096 will then sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and becoming docile once again. It will then attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat. Due to the possibility of a mass chain reaction, including breach of Foundation secrecy and large civilian loss of life, the retrieval of the subject should be considered alpha priority. Dr. has also petitioned for the immediate termination of SCP-096. The termination order has been approved and is to be carried out by Dr. on Special Containment Procedures. SCP-096 is to be contained in its cell, a 5x5x5 meter airtight steel cube at all times. Weekly checks for any cracks or holes are mandatory. There are to be absolutely no video surveillance or optic tools of any kind inside SCP-096's cell. Security personnel will use pre-installed pressure sensors and laser detectors to ensure SCP-096's presence inside the cell. Any and all photos, videos, or recordings of SCP-096's likeness are strictly forbidden without approval from Dr. and O5. Audio log from interview 096-1.
It always sucks ass to get initial retrieval duty. You have no idea what the damn thing is capable of, besides what jacked up information the field techies can scrape up. And you're lucky if they even tell you the whole story. They told us to bag and tag. Didn't tell us jack shit about not looking at the damn thing.
Could you describe the mission, please?
Yeah, sorry. We had 2 choppers. One with my team and one on backup with Zulu 9B and Dr. We spotted the target about 2 clicks north of our patrol path. I'm guessing he wasn't facing our direction, else he would have taken us out then and there.
Your report says SCP-096 didn't react to the cold. It was negative degrees Celsius.
Actually, it was minus. And yes, it was butt naked and didn't so much as shiver. Anyway, we landed, approached the target, and Corporal got ready to bag it. That's when Dr. called. I turned to answer it, That's what saved me. The target must have turned, and my whole squad saw it.
That's when SCP-096 entered an agitated emotional state?
Yep. Sorry. Got the willies for a second.
That's all right.
Yeah, well, I never saw its face. My squad did. And they paid for it up the ass.
Could you describe it a little more, please?
Yeah. They started screaming at us, crying. Not animal roaring, though. Sounded exactly like a person. Really fucking creepy. We started firing when picked up Corporal ripped off his leg. God, he was screaming for our help. Fucking A. Anyway, we were blowing chunks out of the target, round after round. Didn't do jack shit. I almost lost it when it started.
That's when you ordered the use of a AT-4 HED launcher?
An anti-tank gun. Started carrying it ever since SCP got loose. I've seen those tear through tanks like tissue paper. Did the same thing to the target.
There was significant damage to SCP-096.
It didn't even fucking flinch. It kept tearing apart my squad, but with half its torso gone.
But it was taking damage.
If it was, it wasn't showing it. It must have lost all of its organs, all its blood, but it didn't acknowledge any of it. Its bone structure wasn't hurt at all, though. It kept tearing my squad apart.
So no actual structural damage. How many rounds would you say were fired at SCP-096?
At the least, 1,000. Our door gunner kept his GAU-19 on it for at least 20 seconds. 20 fucking seconds! That's 650 caliber rounds pumped into the thing. Might as well have been spitting at it.
This is when Zulu 9B arrived.
Yeah, and my squad was gone. Zulu 9B managed to get the bag over its head, and it just sat down. We got it in the chopper and got it here. I don't know how I never saw its face. Maybe God or Buddha or whoever thought I should live. Jackass.
We have obtained an artist's depiction of SCP-096's face. Would you like to view it?
You know, after hearing that thing screams, and the screams of my men, I don't think I want to put a face to what I heard. No. Just... no.
All right, I believe we are done here. Thank you, Captain. Let this be on record that I am formally requesting SCP-096 be terminated as soon as possible.
Experiment 096-1. Experiment 096-1 is headed by Dr. Dan. The purpose is to test SCP-096's abilities while obtaining a complete physical description of SCP-096. D-9031 is a 32-year-old convicted felon and former tattoo artist. D-9031 is placed inside a bathysphere, which is then lowered into the Tonga Trench off the coast of New Zealand. The position is approximately kilometers from SCP-096's temporary containment cell at Site. The following was recorded via video surveillance inside the bathysphere, between it and Dr. Dan's control site on the New Zealand mainland. The bathysphere reaches a final depth of 10,800 meters. The D-Class acknowledges the vessel has stopped and requests what to do now. Dr. Dan inquires as to how the D-Class is feeling. The D-Class replies his ears hurt. Dr. Dan reassures the D-Class that that is to be expected given the depths. Dr. Dan directs the D-Class's attention to a steel container. He instructs the D-Class to open the envelope inside the container and describe the photographs inside. D-9031 complies. The camera is located so the photograph cannot be seen. The D-Class flicks through two photographs. The first shows the containment cell of SCP-096. The second shows the same cell and SCP-096's foot. The D-Class picks up a third photograph, which displays a clear image of SCP-096's face. He remarks that it is creepy, that there is a lack of pigmentation in the eyes, and that the mouth hangs wrong. He asks to know what this creature is. At this point, approximately 32 minutes past 1 in the afternoon standard time, Dr. Dan and Experiment Control are notified that SCP-096 has breached containment. The fastest path to SCP-096-1 has been cleared of civilians and other image capturing devices, and SCP-096 is now being tracked by satellites via tracking collar. Dr. Dan instructs the D-Class to open a second steel container holding a pad of paper and a pencil. He instructs the D-Class to draw a sketch of the photograph he just saw. SCP-096-1 mumbles an expletive and spends the next 20 minutes drawing a sketch of the photograph. At the time of completion, SCP-096 is confirmed to be kilometers away from 096-1. When the D-Class has finished, Dr. Dan instructs him to place the sketch in a receptacle to the D-Class's left and close the door. SCP-096-1 complies, and the sketch leaves the bathysphere in a watertight buoyancy container. The other photographs are then incinerated in the onboard incinerator. Dr. Dan instructs the D-Class to wait for further instructions. 40 minutes pass. SCP-096 is now confirmed to be at 096-1's position and is diving. The transponder signal ends at 9,339 meters as the pressure goes beyond the device's operational limits. The camera shows the bathysphere shaking slightly. From 096-1's reaction, it is assumed SCP-096 is on the hull and is visible through the viewport. The video and audio feed is cut as the hull of the bathysphere is breached. SCP-096 is recovered by a surface recovery team without incident. The sketch of SCP-096 is also recovered, and a quick test confirms no hostile reaction from SCP-096. The sketch is sent to Experiment Control in New Zealand, while SCP-096 is moved to permanent containment. Incident 096-1-Alpha.
So, containment has been attained.
Yes, Doctor.
Let me see the security footage.
A large steel cube is shown in the middle of a research lab, which is teeming with a dozen or so researchers. In view of the camera is a control booth, displaying readings from various sensors inside the cube. The control booth operator leans forward, alerting to the various readings on the sensors. Approximately 5 seconds later, a steel wall on the containment cube receives a sizable dent bending outward. The dent becomes larger before breaking. SCP-096 is seen bending the steel away, frantically trying to escape. Emergency plates drop down on the cube as a containment breach is sounded. 2 security teams enter the room as SCP-096 breaks out of containment. Live rounds and tranquilizer darts are fired to no visible effect. Approximately 90% of the researchers and security personnel have directly viewed SCP-096's face, and a code Lima is declared. The room and surrounding areas are sealed and flushed with class nerve agent. Approximately 2 minutes later, SCP-096 breaches research site and travels kilometers an hour through the outside desert, traveling.
Echo Romeo was assigned to immediate containment breach. When we realized just how big a breach we were dealing with, we were completely overwhelmed. Funny how even the best and brightest minds in the world can be so unprepared.
So you're saying it is your own fault?
Absolutely not. This was a new discovery in SCP-096's behavior. We had no way to know, and we are lucky it did not turn into an XK.
Helmet camera footage from Echo Romeo Alpha. The footage is from inside a UH-60 and shows SCP-096 on the desert floor, moving at considerable speed.
This is Echo Romeo Actual. We have a visual of the target at knots and increasing.
Echo Romeo Alpha listens to the radio as orders, identified as coming from Dr. Dan, are relayed. SCP-096 can be seen slowly gaining speed. Echo Romeo Alpha motions off camera. Echo Romeo 3 appears, holding a modified XM500 anti-material rifle. 2 shots are fired. The first misses, and the second hits SCP-096 in the lower leg. SCP-096 stumbles, but recovers. The speed change is insignificant.
No effect on target. I repeat, no effect on target.
Echo Romeo Alpha motions to Dash 3 again. SCP-096-3 fires 3 more shots. The first 2 miss, and the third hits SCP-096 in the head. SCP-096 falls, skids, and rolls several times, reducing its speed minimally. SCP-096 rolls to its feet and continues unabated. The camera pans up to see 8 V-22 Ospreys belonging to Mobile Task Force Tau-1 flying overhead and past the helicopters on the same outbound vector as SCP-096. Video interview log 096-1-Alpha. Dr. Oleksei appears very calm, determined, and answers all questions slowly and deliberately.
Where were you exactly at the time of the breach?
On break, getting a cup of coffee. It was pure luck I wasn't caught in the containment area.
Describe your actions directly after the containment breach.
I sent Echo Romeo after SCP-096 and alerted Dr. Dan to the situation. We then set upon the task of locating SCP-096-1. Once the general direction of SCP-096 was determined, I sent Mobile Task Force Tau-1 ahead to evacuate civilian population centers in SCP-096's path, all according to containment protocol.
Video interview log 096-1-Bravo. Dr. Dan sits patiently. On the table in front of him is what looks like to be a set of modified night vision goggles.
For the record, where were you exactly during SCP-096's containment breach?
In the range, trying to find more information on SCP-096's origins. It was a quick research expedition, so I left Dr. Oleksei in charge of containment. He is competent enough, if a bit eager, and has proved himself in the past. This is all confirmed by various related paperwork, so don't go thinking
It was just for the record, Doctor. Now, knowing that SCP-096 is immune to all known forms of damage while in an enraged state, why did you order the sniper attacks from the emergency response team?
Why not? If there was a chance to slow down SCP-096 and give MTF Tau-1 more time, then we had to try it. It put ER in no danger, and the choppers were in danger of being outrun anyway. Honestly, ER could do little else to help or harm the situation.
I see. Now, could you explain this?
The interviewer motions to the goggles lying on the table.
Yes. This is Project Scramble, an eyepiece we assigned to ER and MTF Tau-1. Designed by Dr. Oleksei and myself specifically for SCP-096. It carries a small microprocessor, which constantly analyzes the viewing field for the facial features of SCP-096. Facial recognition software inside instantly identifies them, scrambling the image into an unrecognizable mess before the light reaches the human eye. It's quite ingenious, really.
And expensive.
Very. Which is why it's a shame it didn't work.
Audio transcript between Mobile Task Force Tau-1 and modified EG-3 Sentry AWACS, callsign Big Brother.
Ospreys in the air, moving. What outbound vector is the target currently heading?
Target is currently westbound, traveling on... shit. Yeah, he's on the I-40. I think he's just flipped a semi. Outbound is... degrees by... Next town on this vector is... I'd say a couple of kilometers. Shit. MTF, we're suggesting Echo Romeo begin evacuating the I-40. I don't know how many cars the target has wrecked.
Negative, Big Brother. Echo Romeo is reporting that the target is outrunning their choppers. They can't get ahead of him.
Then get them to stop the motorists on the other lane. I don't know how many people have seen this thing's face.
The first 3 elements of Tau-1 succeeded in gathering the townsfolk in the first 3 towns without incident. SCP-096-1 was confirmed to not be in any of these when SCP-096 ran through each in turn without stopping. However, a video log in MTF Tau shows SCP-096-1 being identified in the town of in the ensuing incident.
Show it.
Helmet camera footage from Element 4 of Mobile Task Force Tau-1 in the town of... Most of the townspeople are gathered in the square, all blindfolded. Helicopters sweep the town. Indistinct orders are heard over loudspeakers from both the helicopters and ground personnel.
The target is entering proximity zone. All units activate scramble gear and begin crowd control procedures. All civilians are not to move from their spot or remove their blindfold. If you move or touch your blindfold, you will be shot. I repeat, all civilians are not to move.
The orders are drowned out by a large shriek coming from outside the camera's view. Approximately 2 kilometers away, SCP-096 is seen to be coming over the crest of the hills. It tries to slow down on the descent, but trips and tumbles down at high speed, crashing through several houses before regaining its footing almost without delay.
All civilians are not to move. You will be shot. I repeat.
Several shots are heard, none of which are directed at SCP-096. SCP-096 stops for 1 second before running into the crowd of townsfolk, throwing many aside and trampling more. More shots are heard as the crowd begins dispersing. The loudspeakers are unintelligible under the vocalizations of SCP-096. SCP-096 locates 096-1, a middle-aged man, and the camera views SCP-096 grabbing him before it is hit by a fleeing townsperson and is dislocated from the helmet. Video interview log 096-1-Charlie.
I was looking through SCP-096-1's house with my squad. Poor bastard was a semi-pro mountaineer. Took a trip to the... Apparently, he took a snapshot of the landscape and just happened to catch SCP-096 in the background.
Wilford holds up 4 fingers for emphasis.
4 pixels. 4 goddamn pixels. I doubt the guy even knew what he saw. He was probably just looking at the picture one day, noticed an off-color patch of snow, and went on with his day.
How did you find it?
Our scramble gear picked it up right away. The lieutenant got the picture and took it down to the chopper before I ever got to see it. By then, the damn monster had taken down Big Brother, and it had peeled open the Major's striker. All hell was breaking loose.
So the scramble gear was ineffective?
Ineffective? The goddamn scramble were pieces of shit that killed the whole damn task force. You know only 3 people are alive besides me? All because some retard egghead thought of a state-of-the-art countermeasure to SCP-096's hostile reaction. Those bloody idiots could have just put a bag over the target's head and be done with it. But no! We had to use the state-of-the-art scramble.
What did that fucker call me?
Dr. Dan pushes back from the table and begins standing up.
I'll show that goddamn son of a bitch what an egghead is after I bash open his...
2 guards enter the room and push Dr. Dan back into his seat.
Do we need to administer a sedative, Doctor?
Dr. Dan takes a breath and smooths his coat.
No, I apologize. Scramble was really an ingenious idea. However, it was a failure because we did not fully know how SCP-096 worked. You see, as the chip inside Scramble picked up SCP-096's facial features and began scrambling them, there was a split second of uninterrupted light flow to the retina. Computers are fast, but not as fast as light. So, there was a split-second image of SCP-096's direct face into the brain. It wasn't even consciously received, but apparently it was enough to trigger the hostile reaction in SCP-096.
So, with this report of the photograph...
That's the most disturbing part of this whole incident. You know when the former SCP-096-1 went on his mountain trip? 1990. That's years of that photo hanging there before he saw SCP-096. Since the brain doesn't need to be aware that it is viewing SCP-096's face to trigger the reaction, there can be ticking time bombs hidden literally anywhere in the world. How many photographs are out there containing SCP-096 just going unnoticed, waiting for a careful eye? As I said before, I want this thing terminated. Now.
Just a quick question, Doctor. What exactly were you planning on doing there? Major Jack Wilford was a top-notch SPS when we recruited him.
I was also a recon corpsman, ma'am, and was deployed in the Caucasus. Marines beat Special Boat Service.
No, they don't.
Enough, both of you. Moving on.
Video interview log 096-1-Delta.
I got the bag over its head.
Yes, you have told me that. Could you tell me exactly what transpired?
It was done with all its... It was sitting there, in the highway. Just got done ripping up our minivan.
And?
Wes landed the chopper. I got out and bagged it. I put the bag over its head. It got calm, and they took it.
So the victims in the minivan were the last to have viewed SCP-096's face?
The interviewee is silent. The interviewee remained silent for the remainder of the interview and was released. He was later found in his bunk room, having committed suicide via hanging with a makeshift rope. A half-crushed pacifier was found in his fist. Video log 096-1-Delta, confiscated tape from news broadcast CNN. The image shows first responders surrounding the remains of a crashed plane over the shoulder of a field reporter.
The plane, which seems to be military in origin, has no outward markings designating it as part of the US military. While first responders look for a black box recording, it is thought by police that the plane crashed into a massive cabin breach in both the cockpit and fuselage.
The reporter motions to a large hole in the side of the plane, which several firefighters are climbing inside.
Paramedics have only found 3 bodies, which is odd for a plane apparently requiring a crew of around 20 men. Police have suggested that...
The reporter is cut off as 3 helicopters are shown hovering overhead, 2 of which land and begin unloading troops, belonging to Mobile Task Force Epsilon 1.
So, are we finished here?
One last question, Doctor. Or statement, as it seems. We find it interesting that there was no break room at research site. Or coffee.
The interviewee remains silent.
We think it would be best if you begin talking.
The remainder of the video interview requires administrator clearance.
I don't see what that has to do with me.
There's no reason to play dumb, Doctor. He's told us everything.
Well then, I guess there's no use feigning anything, is there?
Audio recording 05 hearing.
Upon reviewing your testimony and available footage, and the confession of the late Dr. Oleksei, it is the unanimous agreement of the 05 that you are to be terminated for your part in the gross breach of SCP-096.
And I thought you would know the meaning of "for the greater good."
Do not try my patience, Doctor. Given the incident's scope and potential, the 05 have approved your request for the termination of SCP-096. Given the lack of personnel with understanding of SCP-096, the termination will be entrusted to you, under heavy guard and the personal supervision of me. Your own termination will be scheduled at a later date.
That is horrible, Doctor. How could you knowingly...
It worked. There was only a matter of time until that happened in a major population center and its face spread over the world news. I can kill 096, but I've killed myself in the process.
Interview log 096-1-Alpha, administrator clearance accepted.
I feel like all I've been doing so far is talking.
Honestly talking, then.
Why should I be honest with you when you haven't been honest with me?
What are you talking about?
You're on the 05 Council. right?
I don't see how that's relevant.
05-1 if I were a betting man, and I think we both know that I am.
This is about your and Dr. Dan's gross negligence in regards to SCP-096, not my position in the Foundation.
I mean, yes. Also, no. See, we both figured that until the 05s got involved, we'd never get sanctioned for what needs to be done.
You and Dr. Dan are responsible for the breach, are you not?
Of course.
Directly responsible, yes?
Indeed.
So that's it then. There's no need for further obfuscation. Just answer my questions and we can get on with all this.
What do you want to know?
Why do it at all? SCP-096 was in containment. The pictures were all in containment, originally. We had all the pieces.
You do not...
We had it contained.
You did not have it contained. If all it takes is 2 doctors with a plan to cause a breach, then it's just a matter of time before it happens again.
Have you considered the long-term costs of your mistake here?
Yes. I'm certain I've considered it more than you have.
Let's assume the worst-case scenario, which you almost caused here.
Full loss of the masquerade?
Public global broadcast of the face of the entity.
The end of the world.
No, not the end of the world. It would be horrific, but manageable. It wouldn't even put a dent in the global population growth.
You're insane.
The man who has become obsessed with ending a totally manageable threat thinks I'm insane. I'll have to think about all that when this is over.
This is why we didn't go to our superiors. All you care about are the numbers. People will die.
People die all the time. We're here to mitigate that. To prevent it when we can, and manage it when we can't. Your little stunt cost people their lives. Those people didn't have to die. Don't lecture me on this. You lost the high ground the minute you caused this containment breach.
Fucking ridiculous.
This isn't about me, or us, or what we plan to do next. You may have forced our hand, fine. I barely care about your whys. Tell me how you did it.
Alright. We realized a while back that even a few pixels of the thing's face was capable of causing a breach.
Right. The picture.
We had images in containment, like you said. Dr. Dan grabbed the digital copies, we printed one out, and carefully removed the context. After that, it was pretty simple to doctor someone's vacation image from the right time period, and then we just waited.
How long did you have to wait?
A surprisingly long time. After the first week, we considered putting a second picture out, but that seemed reckless.
You understand how ridiculous you sound right now, yes?
I'm ridiculous? You're keeping that thing alive when it killed people. Innocent people.
No, we're not doing that. You killed those people. You and your friend murdered them just as assuredly as if you'd ripped them apart with your own hands.
I figured you'd understand something like the greater good.
Your kind always say that. I don't think you really know what it means. What I understand is that you went through all this meticulous planning and put together a story that doesn't hold water.
You think I'm stupid?
I am straining to hold any other belief right now.
We needed you here. The big kahuna, investigating dumbass doctors doing dumbass things.
For what purpose?
We thought it possible the Foundation wouldn't take this seriously, even after all this. So I suppose that what we truly needed was a sacrifice.
Dr. Oleksei rubs his hands over his eyes.
What are you talking about?
I had a few pixels of SCP-096's face tattooed in the space between my left pinky and ring finger. 1 pixel at a time by different artists so they wouldn't activate it. And I just looked. We're both going to die here. And then the Foundation will have no choice but to act.
You're an idiot.
Not mad? Not insane?
No, idiot's about right. Have you ever considered that there's a gap in the documentation for SCP-096? It never explains what happens if the subject dies before 096 gets to them.
What?
Agent Miriam, shoot Dr. Oleksei in the head.
No!
Fucking amateurs. See that gets cleaned up. And take care with the body. I would suspect that there's more pixels hidden he didn't tell us about. Bag him up with blinders and incinerate the whole thing.
Check out this video for another great story, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you made it this far. Big up all the incredible voices that helped make this video. You can find all their names and their links below, and big up as well to the patrons and channel members for their support. And special thanks to Viger, Ryan Brenner, Xehex and Andre Bechert.